Welcome back to the channel. For those of you who are new here on this channel, I review books that I've read. In this case, for those of you who are not new and for those of you who are, I want to talk about Running with the Demon by Terry Brooks. Now, I am a big fan of Terry Brooks. I've read quite a number of his books. The first book I read was Elfstones of Shannara way back. Oh, it's probably been 30 years ago that I read that. And I've been collecting his books ever since. I got this book. I can actually tell you. I have it. I can tell you when I put it in the app that I track my books with. I have so many books that I use an app to track them because I have actually bought a book that I've already owned because I didn't realize that I owned it. Anyway, Terry Brooks, one of my favorite authors. In Running with the Demon, we are introduced to two characters. Well, the two that are central to what goes on in the book. Terry Brooks, this particular series that he's introducing us to here is called The Word and the Void. And Running with the Demon is the first book in the series. This book does tie into the Shannara series. I don't know how much I should or shouldn't say about the Shannara series. In the Shannara series, we're introduced to the fact that there was a huge cataclysm that changed the shape of the land, and humans went into hiding, and after thousands of years, they finally emerged back out, and this time there were dwarves, elves, trolls, and humans. And you find out through the series that the Shannara series happens in North America, and that there was some great cataclysm that basically destroyed the earth. We start over, and the races that end up coming to light in the Shannara series are all descendants from humans. They were mutated and changed by the conflict. All except for the elves. The elves have always been here. And they just emerged from hiding after the conflict was over and it was safe to do so. But anyway, Running with the Demon kind of sets up what's going to happen for the Shannara series to come. We are introduced, as I said, to two characters, Nest Freemark and John Ross. Now, John Ross is a Knight of the Word, and I assume that the Word is referencing the biblical Word. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and all that stuff. And the Word was God. The only difference here being that Terry Brooks has decided that the Word is a female deity, whereas the Christian concept is that God is a male figure. Anyway, being a Knight of the Word, he's empowered. John Ross is empowered with magic. He carries a black staff with runes carved into it. And he's given visions of the future, visions that he needs to avert. Now, they're not like omens, like, somebody is going to be hit by a car tomorrow, so I've got to be at this certain intersection to stop that from happening. This is, I get visions of the far, far future. Like this is 10, 15, 20 years down the line, and there's something that I've got to do today to prevent that from happening. So it's a little, it's a little vague in that what John Ross has to do today to fix the future. He's not given that knowledge, and it's pretty horrific. As in, they're horrific nightmares. And so he is constantly sleep deprived because he doesn't want to go to sleep to see these visions. The other thing is that there's some connection between what happens today and what happens in his dreams. Now, I don't mean to say that if he fixes something, that something in his vision, in his dream, changes. But he mentions that if he uses his magic today, that when he goes to sleep at night and dreams, he won't have his magic to defend him in the future, which is really weird. I mean, why would I, if I use it today, I can't use it in my dreams? So there's some sort of connection between what he's doing now and also how he perceives these future dreams. Anyway, his dreams take him to Hopewell. I want to say Hopewell, Illinois, because that is the that's what his visions are telling him. Where the whole thing starts, and it starts with Nest Freemark. Nest Freemark is a 14-year-old girl, typical 14-year-old interests. She has her circle of friends. She lives in this small town. Now, there's a steel mill in this small town called Midcon, and there's a whole kind of subplot around what's going on there because there's been a strike and the union is having a tough time negotiating with Midcon, so there's a lot of people out of work and they're feeling the pressure of living in this small town where there's basically the mill is the only jobs they've got. So most of the town is out of work because they're on strike. And that's when the demon comes in. The demon is there stirring up trouble. He has a goal that he wants to accomplish there in Hopewell. And so he's there stirring up trouble. Now, John Ross's main I don't want to say goal, but his main task is to destroy demons. The problem is that, and this is where some of it doesn't really make sense to me. He can't sense the demon. He can't track the demon. The demon is, for all intents and purposes, invisible to John. Just as it is invisible to everyone else. And none of his visions show him the demon's face. So it's not even like he can go up to somebody and look at him and say, yep, you're the demon. In fact, in the first, right when John gets to town, he goes into the diner where everybody's chilling out and talking about, they've got some of the current workers that are on strike. They've got some of the old guard who've retired. One of whom is Robert Freemark, Nest's grandfather. Now John goes into the diner, meets Robert, and tells him that he used to be one of his daughters, Caitlin. He used to be one of her friends at college, so Robert invites John to come back to their house to meet his wife and his granddaughter, Nest. And he says, I'd love to do that. And he leaves the diner. Well, the thing is the demon was there in the diner the entire time, watching John Ross. The demon could have walked up to Ross and stuck a knife in him, and it would have been all over. Why the demon didn't do that, I have no idea. I assume that maybe John Ross's magic would have somehow miraculously protected him at the last second, and that would have allowed him to then destroy the demon before anything happened. But it doesn't make any sense. The demon can't be seen, can't be sensed, can't be tracked, and John is somehow supposed to find it and destroy it. It's not even like anyone else in town. The demon can only be seen when it wants to be. It in fact manipulates one of the young men in town, and basically while he's doing his manipulations, he's manipulating him as like whispering in his ear, and the young man just perceives these whisperings as ideas popping into his head. Now, there's a couple of scenes where this young man goes back to his house, and the demon is there, just chilling out in the guy's house. Anyway, it turns out that Nest is the descendant of a long line of people who have magic in their family line. Nest's grandmother had it. Other members of Nest's family. The previous one to Nest's grandmother was like a great aunt who was supposed to teach Nest's grandmother. Nest's grandmother is supposed to teach her how to use the magic and stuff because they are guardians of this area. There's a kind of they call it the park, but it's a small woodland area in town, and there are magical forest creatures, one of whom is named Pick. Pick is a little man. He's about that size, and he's made out all of twigs. Has a face, mossy beard, all that kind of stuff, and he's there helping keep track of what's going on in the forest, in the park. And there's also these. They call them feeders. You can kind of equate them to the soulless from the Kingdom Hearts series, all black with like glowing yellow eyes. And Nest and her grandmother and some of these other forest creatures that like Pick, they can see these feeders. John can also see these feeders because he's been magically gifted by the word to have these magical abilities. So I'm trying to figure out if I've explained enough. Obviously, Nest has her group of friends that are kids her own age, and she hits it off pretty well with John Ross when he shows up in town that day. Nest's grandmother is not so open and welcoming, and they've got a lot of like. Robert Freemark is called Old Bob. Everybody knows him, and he's well respected in the community. Evelyn Freemark, Nest's grandmother, again well respected, but everybody thinks she's a bit strange. And she's kind of given up on life. Not saying that she is like trying to commit suicide or anything, but she just kind of sits in her house all day, drinking and smoking. I mean, she never really gets drunk. It's not like she's passing out drunk, but she always has, she wakes up in the morning and her breakfast is vodka with orange juice, and throughout the day she nurses brandy with water, bourbon with water. I think that's right. Anyway, so she's kind of, it's like she's like, whatever. And Robert Freemark can't figure out how to like connect with his wife anymore. He wants to, but she doesn't seem to be willing to open up anymore and to reach out to other people. At least not in that way. She does threaten a man. She goes up to this guy later in the book and looks him in the eye and says, if you ever touch this lady or her kids ever again, you will have to deal with me, and I will hunt you to the end of the earth. You got that? And she's scary enough, even then, being this little old lady, that this guy takes it to heart. Anyway, running with the demon, as I said, there's a lot going on. There's a lot to unpack. John Ross is a sympathetic character. You sympathize with him. Being that he is magically gifted and things, but there's a huge downside to his magical gifts. One, he cannot walk properly. His one of his legs is crippled, and you find out later exactly why, but it forces him to lean on the staff that is kind of his badge of office. And in addition to that, he has these horrific nightmares all the time about what the future will be if he doesn't fix it now. It's not even like if he fixes the future by stopping what's happening in town, that he will be gifted with a good night's sleep, or that he'll be gifted with a beautiful vision of the future. It's like, yeah, you stop this one catastrophe from happening and the world is still going to end, and so I'm still going to have these horrific nightmares. So Nest is also a character that you can empathize for. You can sympathize with her plight. She's grown up with her grandparents. Her mother committed suicide, and again, that's discussed in the book. And the whole implications of having magic in her family line, and what she can and shouldn't do with it, and things like that, all growing up in this small town. So, did I like the book? Yes, it's well written, just as Terry Brooks' other books are well written. However, I didn't really enjoy the read. The problem is that this book series ties into the Shannara series, and I had a lot harder time actually finding the motivation to pick up the book and read it, because even though I didn't know how the book would end, I knew how it would end, if that makes sense. I know that John Ross is not successful, that the apocalypse happens. And that's actually another thing that kind of irks me about this particular series and having it tie into the Shannara series. The feeders disappear after this. They never come up again. They're never mentioned. They're never in the Shannara series. So somehow all the feeders are destroyed, or he just forgets about them. Same with the Word and the Void. The Word and the Void never show up again in any of the Shannara series. It's not like in the new Shannara series, in the Shannara series, that Word is equated to God. There's very little religion that's actually talked about in the later books. It's just not there, and evil is just evil. There's not the void. Although I do think in the I'm not sure. There is a series that is somewhere in. I don't remember what the name. One of them is Bloodfire Quest. There's one before that. They calls him a void. There's a character called a voidling. So that maybe harkens back to this, but other than that, once you get past the Word and the Void series, the Word and the Void are gone. There are no feeders. And the demons do exist in the Shannara universe, but or the Shannara series, but they're locked behind the forbidding. The elves defeated the demons way back in the dawn of, I shouldn't say just the elves. It was the good fairies, if you will, the good fae that defeated the demons and locked them behind the forbidding, supposedly forever. And so, where did this demon come from? If the demons are locked away from the earth behind the forbidding, how are we still getting demons? There's no explanation. And so maybe I'm reading too much into this, that I shouldn't be thinking of this in terms of, the demons, this is disconnected from the Shannara series, and the demon is some sort of it's called a demon, but it's not a primordial demon, and because it's not a primordial demon, it didn't get locked away. It was able to, because he did used to be human, and he is then turned himself somehow into a demon. So maybe that's how he is able to walk around on Earth and not be forcefully sucked away into some limbo dimension. I don't know. Anyway, that being said, it was still good. I still am glad I read it. Still enjoyed reading it. But like I said, there are some things that, and maybe I will get more information because, like I said, this is the first book in the Word in the Void series. There's two more. Night of the Word and Angel Fire East are the next two in the series. I will be reading those as well. I have them on my bookshelf. Right now, I'm trying to finish up the Incarnations... I want to say it's Incarnations of Immortality series by Piers Anthony. I've read most of the books in the series. I have 2 left. Actually 3, because he wrote another one later. But I'm reading for Love of Evil. Anyway, that being said, hope you enjoy what you're reading, and like, subscribe, comment down below, put on the bell icon so you get notified when I release new videos, and enjoy what you're reading.